Hi, this is Amy Romeo from the jewelry making and craft blog amyromeo.com, and on this channel I like to share fun and easy jewelry making and craft projects. Today in this video I'll be showing you how to make this really pretty turtle keychain using faux leather, heat transfer vinyl, and a Cricut. I'll walk you step by step through how to cut out the vinyl and the faux leather mats, how to press the vinyl onto the faux leather, how to glue the keychain, and then how to attach the tassel. You're going to love this project. It's great for summer, and these keychains are perfect for kids and adults alike. So if you're ready to dive in, let's get started. Let's go over the tools and materials we'll be using to make our faux leather and heat transfer vinyl turtle keychain. I'll be using the Cricut Maker today, but you could use the Maker 3, the Explorer Air 2, the Explorer 3, or even the Cricut Joy, because we'll be using the standard fine point blade that comes with each of those machines. For heat pressing, I'll be using my Easy Press Mini. You could also use a traditional Easy Press set to about 265 degrees. If you have a larger heat press, you'll want to spend a little time experimenting with pressing down the heat transfer vinyl onto the faux leather so you get the right amount of pressure so the heat transfer vinyl adheres nicely, but you don't flatten out your faux leather. So I would say use an Easy Press Mini or regular Easy Press first if that's what you have on hand. If not, do a little experimentation with a larger heat press. So the faux leather that I'm using, I'll be using some sheets today. You can also use rolls of faux leather. I buy these from Amazon, and sheets come in all different colors. You could use a solid, you could use a print or a pattern. It's really up to you. I've already cut one of these keychains using a dark background, and I'll show that to you at the end of the video. Today's video I'm going to cut from this lighter green so I can show you sort of how it looks with a lighter background and a darker background. And it also looks really pretty using white if that's what you have on hand. So I'll be using the purple strong grip mat to cut the faux leather and using blue painter's tape to help me tape down the faux leather. If you're using the Cricut Joy, it's okay, just use the green mat that comes with the Joy. And then for cutting the heat transfer vinyl, I'll be using the green standard grip cutting mat. For this project, I have a lot of heat transfer vinyls here, but don't feel overwhelmed. For this project, you need one color of faux leather, and then you need 4 colors of heat transfer vinyl in your choice. So I have some solids here. This is this really pretty new Aurora heat transfer vinyl from Caesar. It has an incredible shimmer and a sort of a linen texture. So I'm going to play with some of that. And then I also have some really pretty colors of Caesar glitter vinyl, which I love to use. So I'll choose 4 of these, and you'll do the same. For the keychain hardware, I like these 1 1/4 inch split ring keychains. These are from Amazon. They come in the gold and the silver finish. And then you'll want if you want to attach a tassel, there are these really cute little faux suede tassels also from Amazon. They come in different lengths and different colors, and you can choose the coordinating sort of topper color. They come in gold and silver toppers, so everything matches. And then I'll just attach these with a jump ring. I have some 8mm size here, but you could do a larger size, like 10mm or 12mm would be great. Then I have some weeding tools that I'll use for my vinyl. I have a hook, I have a pin pen, some craft scissors, some jewelry making tools to attach my optional tassel, and then to glue the keychain together, I'll be using some of this Fabri-Tac glue, but you can use any good fabric glue you have, or even a good craft glue, like the Bearly Art Glue or Art Glitter Glue. I have a technique for getting these keychains really nice and flat and well glued together, and I'll show that to you at the end of the video when we start to put our keychain together. Let's see, what else? I have my heat pressing pad and a Teflon cover sheet. You'll want to use something like this, or butcher paper or parchment paper. So let me show you how to get the SVG for this project, and then we'll upload it into Cricut Design Space. We'll cut out our mats and we'll assemble our turtle keychain. So to make this project, you'll want to get the SVG for the keychain from my SVG shop. I have hundreds of SVGs in my shop for keychains and earrings. At the time I'm recording this, I don't have the SVG for this project in my shop yet, but by the time you're watching this video, it will be there. You can click on the link here on the screen or get the link in the description. It'll bring you to a product page, just like my taco earrings SVG, and you'll see that you can either choose a personal use version or you can choose a small commercial use version, which gives you a commercial use license to sell physical products made from my designs. Then you'll check out and you'll receive an email and you will download the SVG folder. The folder will be zipped and you will need to unzip it before you can upload the unzipped SVG file to Cricut Design Space. So starting with a blank canvas in Cricut Design Space, you'll click on Upload and then Upload Image, and you'll browse to where your unzipped SVG file is for this project. It's important that it's unzipped so you can upload it to Design Space. You'll click on Upload and then it will appear here in your recent uploads row. So I'll go ahead and click on it to select it and then click Add to Canvas. So you'll see the keychain layers are here. The dark green is the faux leather layer on the bottom, and then all of these layers are the heat transfer vinyl layers. So I wanted to mention, you can see the size here, 7.29 inches. That's a little long for the Cricut Joy, unless you have the long Joy mat. So if you are cutting this with the Cricut Joy, just be aware that you'll need to resize this down so it will fit on your little Joy mat. But you can absolutely cut it and it will work beautifully. So let's just take a look here on the layers panel, and you can see the different colors of the heat transfer vinyl. As I mentioned, you're going to choose 4. They can be any 4, and what I've done is I've grouped the similar colors together, so when you cut out these little layers of vinyl, you won't be laying each of these pieces individually. You'll be laying a section of the colors that are the same. So this sort of aqua color, this will cut all 4 in place and you'll fit these layers together like puzzle pieces. You'll see what I mean when we start cutting and assembling. And that's important because if you were trying to press each one of these little pieces one at a time, it would be a little bit cumbersome. So this is ready to go. It's at the size that I want to use. So I'll click the Make It button. I'm cutting on a mat. And then we'll see all of our mats separated out. These are all different shades of green, but you can cut each mat from whatever heat transfer vinyl you choose. So the first thing I want to do is go through and mirror each of these mats, and that's because heat transfer vinyl and faux leather cut in reverse, so we want to mirror each mat. If you were doing this project with permanent vinyl, that's totally fine. You would only mirror your faux leather mat and not the vinyl mats. But I'm using heat transfer vinyl, so I've gone through and mirrored each mat, and now what I want to do is start back at the top again, and I want to drag these vinyl shapes apart from the edge a little bit and apart from each other. So we'll click on each one, same with the faux leather mat, apart from the edge. Okay, so now I have all of my layers pulled apart from the edge and pulled apart from each other, and I'll click Continue. And I like to cut the faux leather mat first, so I will click on it to select it, and then I use the faux leather paper thin setting. If you don't have this setting here as a favorite like I do, you can click on Browse All Materials and search for it. If you're using the Explore Air 2, you'll need to turn your dial to Custom before you can search and find this setting. So I use faux leather paper thin with more pressure, and that's for the faux leather mat. And then all of these heat transfer vinyl mats, you'll cut them according to the recommended cut settings for your material. So for regular heat transfer vinyl, I like to use the vinyl setting with default pressure. For glitter heat transfer vinyl, I like to use glitter vinyl with default pressure, and then I repeat the cut 1 time. And then I found for the Aurora, the setting that worked well for me was something called, let me search for it, this one, Heat Transfer Non-Cricut. So let me bookmark that. There we go, Heat Transfer Non-Cricut, but that will be for the Caesar Aurora product. Let me go ahead and click back on faux leather so that we're set for this mat and with the more pressure. So again, whatever heat transfer vinyl you're using, use the recommended cut setting for that type. So I'm back on the faux leather paper thin setting with more pressure. we're going to hop over now to my overhead camera and we'll start to cut out our mats and then we'll assemble our turtle keychain. So the first thing I did was trim my faux leather down to a smaller size, and this is the size that I saw in Design Space in the mat preview where I can cut out my entire shape. So I just trimmed it down to this smaller size. This is going to help us get a nice cut when the piece is smaller, because when the piece is smaller we can tape it down on all sides with blue painter's tape, and that's going to help it stay really well stuck to our mat. So just tape down on all sides. I'm using a brand new purple strong grip mat, but usually my mats are well used and not as sticky anymore, so the blue painter's tape is really going to help in cases where you're not using a brand new purple mat. So I already have my faux leather paper thin setting in Design Space with more pressure, so I'll just go ahead and load the mat and begin the cut. So the mat has cut through one time, and I always like to check my faux leather to make sure that the cut went all the way through, because I can repeat the cut as long as I haven't unloaded the mat. So I like to use my sharp weeding tool just to sort of lift up an edge of the cut, take a look and see if the cut went through all the way. This one looks good, but if it didn't, or if you're lifting up your edge and it seems to be stuck down in some parts, then you can just hit the cut button and repeat the cut. And you can do that as many times as needed, as long as you haven't unloaded your mat. If you're using the Cricut Joy, your option to rerun the cut will be on your screen in Cricut Design Space. So this looks good. I'll go ahead and unload the mat, and I'll remove my turtle keychain shape. As I said, this mat is new and very sticky, so I'm going to remove this carefully. And this is a good time to sort of show you how this is going to work. So this is a fold over keychain. So basically the little turtle is going to fold over, the key ring goes here in this loop, and then we'll glue the body together. So now I'm going to start cutting out my vinyl mats, and I'll use my green standard grip cutting mat for that. So now I'm just going to start cutting my heat transfer vinyl rolls. I've chosen these 4 colors. 2 are Caesar Glitter and 2 are the Caesar Aurora. And I'm just trimming them down to size, putting them shiny side down on my green standard grip mat, and then cutting them according to the recommended cut settings for these materials. So I'll go ahead and load the mat, and I'll begin the cut. So I cut this glitter twice. I used the default pressure setting, and I just repeated the cut one time because this is that thick Caesar glitter. Your glitter you might not need to cut twice. And I want to weed this quickly before I cut any other ones because I just want to show you something. So you'll see this is the row of shapes, you know, one for each turtle, and I'm going to trim these apart. It's important when you cut these out that you don't trim the shapes apart from each other. Basically, you just want to trim, you know, the layer for each turtle. You don't want to cut these little shapes apart. That's what I meant before about not wanting to place each one of these little pieces individually, because that will make you crazy. Here they're connected, and when we go to place them on our turtle, they'll perfectly line up, and that's going to help us fit together all of the little pieces. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut out my 3 other vinyl colors. Remember, for the Caesar Aurora, I'm using that setting that's other heat transfer vinyl, non-Cricut. That's a good cut setting for that material. And we'll go ahead and cut out all of our vinyl mats, weed them out, and then we'll start putting together the keychain. Okay, so I finished cutting out the 4 different vinyl mats, and I've trimmed the shapes apart from each other, but kept all of the little pieces in place. So that'll help us, you'll see, as we're assembling our little turtle keychain. So that being said, what I want to do is go back to Design Space, click on Done because I've finished cutting the last mat, and then pull up the preview of this design again so I can see where the little pieces go. And I recommend you do the same, it'll really help. So I've got my Easy Press Mini on the low setting. That's just that one first green line, or you can set your Easy Press to 265 degrees. So I recommend we start with the largest shape. This one kind of goes around the border, and this will help us fill in the gaps with the other layers. So this one I cut from the Caesar Aurora heat transfer vinyl. This is a cold peel, which means I need to let this, after I press it, I need to let it completely cool before I can peel off the clear cover sheet. So I have 2 layers of Aurora and I have 2 layers of glitter, which are warm peel. I can peel those off right away. But I just wanted to point that out about these. So I'm just going to line it up here, and then I'll hold it up so I can show you. So this one, you'll see there's a tiny bit of a border of green all around the outside, and you just want to also make sure that it's sort of centered. The center line is visible here, and that these little pieces are sort of, you know, that it's symmetrical on the turtle body so that the other pieces will fit in nicely. So let me just pull this up a little bit. I'm going to cover with my little Teflon sheet and then just press for about 5 to 10 seconds. So this is the layer that needs to be cold peeled. So what I'm going to do is flip this around and start on the other side so that this side will cool off by the time I'm done pressing this side. Again, if you're not using this Caesar Aurora, then you don't need to worry about this part. Okay, let's flip back over. That feels pretty good. And then we'll just peel carefully. There we go. It is so pretty. It's got a great shimmer and kind of a nice texture. What I love about these turtle keychains, I really like mixing and matching the different colors and textures and different styles of vinyl to make the turtle shell look really interesting and different. So while this one's cooling, let me pick another one. Let's see. I'll do this one. So now it's just a matter of referring back to your screen in Design Space to sort of figure out where these little layers go. Placing it down. You want to maintain sort of that nice even little gap in between the little turtle shell pieces if you can. It's no big deal, but in an ideal world. And now we'll just press again for 5 to 10 seconds. This glitter is not cold peel, so I'll be able to peel off the cover sheet right away. And I wanted to mention, I don't see a lot of them here. Sometimes the little pieces of glitter from the clear transfer sheet get stuck on the faux leather. If you just let the faux leather cool, you can usually just sort of flick them off with your fingernail or with a sharp weeding tool. Those little pieces of glitter will come off when the faux leather has cooled down. So we'll flip back over to this side, cold peel the Aurora. Okay. And then I'll just sort of keep flipping back and forth on the 2 sides. You could either do one side completely or you could do both sides together. Now I'll do the other Aurora layer. And then our last glitter layer. Isn't that pretty? Don't you love how all the different colors and textures look together? What I love about this project is you can use any blues, any greens, really, you know, any color for the bottom, any color for all the pieces. It's really, really pretty. So what I want to do now is just lay it flat here. I'm going to put it under a heavy book for just a few minutes to let it cool down flat, and then we'll get to the gluing part. Our little keychain shape has cooled and we're ready to glue. So I'm using that Beacon Fabric Tack glue. Again, you can use any fabric glue or an art glue that you like the Barely Art is really good. This has the little precision tip, which I like for small areas, but I find with these larger keychain shapes, I like to use the Fabric Tack. So what we want to do is put the key ring on first before we glue, just so that we're not trying to, stress this small little piece of faux leather as we get the key ring on. So I'm just going to sort of bend and roll my little turtle here to get the key ring on. I'll flip this over and I'll just push the key ring out of the way. And with the fabric glue, what I want to do is, I'm not going to glue on this center bridge part where the key ring goes, but I am going to start up here at the head. And I want to get close to the edge, but not all the way to the edge. When we press this flat, hopefully the glue will press up just to the edge to seal the edge, but it won't leak out. If it does leak out, it's okay. You can just pick it off with your fingers when it dries, or you could wipe it up with a little damp towel if you notice it right away and the glue is still wet. So I mentioned I have a little trick for getting this to be nice and flat when it dries. And again, we're going to use our heavy book, and you'll see how I do that. So I'm just going to fold this over, fold the top up to the bottom, and it's important at this stage to line up the front and the back of your keychain so that when it does dry, you get that sort of seamless look. So I'm just sort of pressing it into place with my fingers so it lines up nicely front and back. That looks pretty good. Again, we didn't put glue in the loop here. Look at it from the back as well. And basically, I don't want to see the other side peeking out if I can avoid it. And that looks pretty good. So this is my trick for getting it to be nice and glued. I'm going to use my book. I'm going to put it on top. And I want to put it on top, but not put it on top of the key ring, so that this is nice and flat and the key ring is not taking up space underneath the book. Then I'm also going to put something else on top. You could use a brick or a really heavy book. I'm going to use my 9x9 Easy Press, not turned on, just the way it is, because it is nice and heavy and flat. Again, it's not turned on, it's not even plugged in. It's just a really heavy thing. So I'm going to let this glue dry for several hours, and then I'll come back. I'll show you how to attach the tassel keyring, and I'll also show you the darker version that I made, and you can tell me in the comments which one you like better. So my glued keychain has been drying flat underneath this heavy book for a few hours. I already removed the Easy Press that was helping me weigh this down, and I did check about 30 minutes into the gluing and drying process. I checked to make sure, see if there was any glue seeping out of the edges that I could easily remove while the glue was still a little bit wet. It's easier to remove it, by wiping it away when it's wet than when it's fully dry. So we'll go ahead and remove the book one more time and take a look. And I think it looks really, really cute. You could see that sort of shimmery, sort of a linen texture on the Aurora HTB. Isn't that pretty? And the edges look really nice. I think it came out really good. Super cute. I wanted to mention on the keychains where the side, the edge, sometimes the edge is white because you're seeing the back of the faux leather, which might be white, the two white backs touching, and then it just looks a little too visually jarring when you look at the side. You could use a color coordinated Sharpie. This is not the right color, obviously, but you could use a color coordinated Sharpie and color the edges, and that'll help sort of make the edge look more finished and it won't be as distracting with a white edge. And I did want to show you, I made one with the dark green base, as I mentioned, and then some different colors of both Caesar glitter heat transfer vinyl. This is another color of the Aurora, that sort of lime green, and then this one also. Actually, this is a solid and this is a glitter. But you could see the difference in having the dark background and then having the lighter background. So now that I have the two different keychains finished, then I want to go ahead and add a little tassel quickly. And I was mentioning earlier, Amazon has all of these really cute faux suede tassels in different lengths and then different material colors on the top, the metal color. I'll link to these for you in the description of the video. I'm going to match up the color of the tassel with the color of my hardware, and then we'll just use a quick jump ring to attach the tassel to the keyring, and that's it. I've got my flat nose jewelry making pliers ready to go. Open up the jump ring, slide on the tassel, slide on the keychain, and then close it back up again. And there we go. Our turtle keychains are complete. I hope you enjoyed this project and you're going to make some faux leather turtle keychains yourself. I hope that you'll experiment, have some fun choosing different colors of faux leather and heat transfer vinyl. As you see, the possibilities are endless. If you liked making this faux leather keychain project, I have so many more here on my channel. I have a playlist for you. If you just keep watching, the next one will start and you'll be on to your next keychain project. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.